The other version is sure to feel very terrified of your appearance and sudden disappearance. You will inevitably think that you are a mysterious entity coming from another unknown world. In other words, while you are busy hearing ghost and jinn stories and are terrified of them, perhaps you yourself are a genie or ghost for other people living in other worlds. The likeness may therefore be little more than another version of the same person, sometimes manifested by defects in the laws of physics, and the same applies to ghosts and spirits, who may be objects of other parallel worlds. We find clear echoes of this question in religious heritage, where there are sacred texts indicating other hidden worlds living in the same space as us. There is also a theory called time slip, which can also give us a possible explanation for the problem of similarity. And this theory is very close to the theory of multiple worlds, and its authors claim that historical stages and ages never end. In other universes and time dimensions, that is, the Mongols continue to conquer the old world. But in another time, the Second World War is still burning in another time, and Hitler may win it. This theory may seem difficult to believe, but it must be remembered that time is not as constant as we think, and this is what Einstein has proven by the theory of relativity and what scientific research has confirmed over the past few decades. Let's take a simple example to illustrate this problem. Imagine that in another solar system, 200 light-years from us, there is a planet inhabited by more advanced creatures than us. This planet is staring at us through advanced telescopes, which allow it to see very fine details. What do you think he saw when he looked at the ground? Let me surprise you. That creature does not see our present land, but the land of 1814, because it sees a beam of light that left our planet 200 years ago, the difference of visual distance between us. The creature will see the Allied forces prepare to enter Paris after Napoleon's defeat at the Battle of Leipzig. But he certainly won't see the Eiffel Tower because it hasn't been built yet. Of course, it can be said that the idea of a vivid and concrete version of a particular historical age seems fictional. But history is not without real experiences, and heroes claim to have lived briefly in the historical atmosphere before their time. Perhaps the most famous of these stories is that of Moberly and Ms. Jordian, who suddenly found themselves in another age and time while visiting the Versailles Palace in France. Not to mention, the idea of traveling to different historical eras, past and future, is possible if we possess the right technology, based on some well-established scientific theories. If we arguably assume that these theories are true, and that there are different worlds in the dimensions and time, this similarity is probably just a repetition of a previous period in the life of the same person. It exists, but in another space. And to clarify the meaning, imagine that scoring you playing ball in the yard 2 years ago is still alive in another space if there is overlap between spaces. For some reason, this recording will be repeated, meaning you will stand in your room window and see another version of you playing ball in your garden, just as if you were watching a video. Of course, the only explanation for that phenomenon that you have will be something like that. Another explanation is stellar travel to higher worlds. It is one of the explanations of the exhumation experiments, and his followers claim that each physical object has an ethereal-shaped stellar object, separate from it and capable of exiting it. Well, why would they call it stellar projection? Because it's about the upper worlds or stellar planets that are different from the physical world we know. Through spiritual practices, intensive training, meditation, and mysticism, man may be able to control his stellar body and travel across it to those planets and worlds, while his physical body on Earth remains connected to the stellar body by a thin silver rope. But not all people who try stellar projection are trained in stellar projection, or they are mystical. And sometimes this happens unexpectedly to ordinary people who have nothing to do with spiritual practice and do not understand the concept of stellar projection. During sleep, a person who suffers from it may think it is just a very strange dream. The topic of stellar projection is wide and complex, and we have discussed it before on the theme, Are shadow owners real or a trick? So I don't want to expand it any further. But what we are interested in is that it offers us a possible explanation of the similarity, assuming that the similarity is merely a manifestation of stars that sometimes travel outside our bodies. According to some scientists interested in supernatural phenomena and telepathy, ideas sometimes appear as different forms of psychological energy without people realizing them. In other words, all the stories about ghosts, spirits, etc. are just a story. The manifestations of our basic mental abilities are stimulated by certain feelings, such as fear or anger. Finally, most scientists do not take seriously everything we have mentioned above and see only fantasies and illusions arising from psychiatric illnesses, or possibly from taking certain drugs, and drugs that affect brain action. Personally, I know people who are addicted to drugs. They told me how these pills have strange effects on their brains and cause different types of mental and visual hallucinations. Psychology is full of types of schizophrenia that make the patient imagine illusions that exist only in his or her mind. Share your opinions, dear listener, in comments about any theory you are convinced of. Thank you.